The news has landed, and it has already sparked a wave of excitement across royal watchers, supporters of the Sussexes, and especially the vibrant community of Australian Sussex squaders. After weeks of whispers and speculation, it has now been confirmed that Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, are planning a visit to Australia in mid-April. While the exact length of their stay remains unspecified, the confirmation alone has already ignited a major conversation across media outlets and social platforms. And for many observers, the significance of this trip goes far beyond a simple international visit. For the Sussexes, Australia holds a special place in their story. Their first royal tour together in 2018 captured worldwide attention and marked one of the earliest moments when the global public truly saw the dynamic energy between the couple and the communities they visited. Crowds gathered in massive numbers, the atmosphere was electric, and the tour was widely seen as one of the most successful royal visits in recent memory. Even years later, people still recall the warmth of the reception they received and the sense that Harry and Meghan were connecting with audiences in a fresh, modern way. This upcoming visit, however, will be very different from that earlier tour. This time, they will not be travelling as official representatives of the monarchy. Instead, they are visiting as private citizens, which in many ways makes the trip even more intriguing. Without the rigid structures and protocols of a traditional royal tour, the Sussexes will have greater freedom in how they engage with communities, organisations and supporters. Reports suggest that the couple will rely primarily on their private security team during the visit. However, if they appear at public events or gatherings, it is likely that local authorities will provide additional security support. This is a fairly standard arrangement for high-profile public figures travelling internationally, especially those who attract large crowds wherever they go. What has surprised many observers, however, is the timing of the announcement. Typically, visits like this, especially private ones, are kept relatively quiet until the last minute. Yet in this case, the trip has been confirmed more than a month in advance. That level of transparency has raised questions about why the Sussexes decided to reveal their plans so early. One possible explanation lies in recent media appearances by Meghan. Her podcast interview and her appearance at the event known as Besties generated considerable attention online. In the process of promoting those appearances, hints about upcoming travel plans began circulating. Once speculation started gaining traction, it may have become nearly impossible to keep the Australian visit under wraps. Rather than allowing rumours to spiral out of control, confirming the trip early may have been the simplest way to manage expectations. By putting the information out there themselves, Harry and Meghan essentially controlled the narrative before others could shape it for them. There is also another interesting layer to the timing of the announcement. Around the same period, discussions have been intensifying about a planned state visit by King Charles III and Queen Camilla to the United States. That potential trip has already sparked debate among politicians and commentators in the United Kingdom, with some questioning whether the visit is appropriate given current political tensions and diplomatic sensitivities. In that context, the Sussexes' Australian visit suddenly becomes part of a much larger royal conversation. Royal watchers know that media cycles surrounding the monarchy can be incredibly intense, with different events and narratives often overlapping. By confirming their own plans early, Harry and Meghan may have ensured that their visit stands on its own, rather than becoming entangled in speculation about other royal travel. One recurring storyline in the British media has been the constant question of whether King Charles might attempt to reconnect with Harry during visits to the United States, especially given that Harry and Meghan live in California. Headlines often speculate endlessly about potential meetings, possible snubs, or imagined family tensions. But by planning a trip to Australia during roughly the same period when other royal travel is dominating headlines, the Sussexes have effectively shifted the focus. Instead of endless guessing about whether the king might drop by Montecito, attention now turns toward what Harry and Meghan themselves are doing on the global stage. And make no mistake, the global stage matters. Australia is not just another destination. It is a Commonwealth nation with deep historical ties to the British monarchy, and royal visits there traditionally attract enormous public interest. When Harry and Meghan arrive, even as private citizens, the symbolism of their presence will be impossible to ignore. For supporters of the Sussexes in Australia, the news feels almost like a celebration. Over the years, Australian fans have remained among the couple's most enthusiastic supporters. Social media communities dedicated to Harry and Meghan have been buzzing with excitement ever since the confirmation surfaced. Many are already speculating about possible appearances, charity visits, or informal meetups that might take place while the couple is in the country. The excitement is understandable. Harry has long had a strong connection with Australia. During his younger years, he spent time working on a cattle station in Queensland, an experience he later described as both grounding and memorable. Those early experiences helped create a personal bond with the country that goes beyond royal duties or ceremonial visits. Meghan, too, has spoken about how meaningful their 2018 tour was, describing the warmth of the welcome they received from Australians and the sense of community that surrounded the entire journey. For both of them, returning to Australia carries a sense of nostalgia and unfinished connection. But while supporters are thrilled, not everyone in royal circles is likely to react with the same enthusiasm. Within the complex dynamics of the royal family, every move made by Harry and Meghan tends to generate reactions both positive and negative. One figure whose response is already the subject of speculation is Prince William. Over the past few years, observers have noted that any major international appearance by the Sussexes tends to trigger waves of commentary comparing their activities with those of other senior royals. Australia, in particular, highlights an interesting contrast. Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, last visited Australia more than a decade ago. While they have carried out numerous engagements in other parts of the world, a return to Australia has not yet materialised. That absence has occasionally drawn criticism from commentators who believe that Commonwealth countries deserve more consistent attention from the royal family. When high-profile visits don't happen for long periods, people inevitably begin asking why. One moment that intensified those questions occurred in 2023 during the FIFA Women's World Cup. England's national team made an extraordinary run to the final, which was held in Australia. Many fans assumed that Prince William, who at the time was closely associated with football leadership roles, would travel to support the team in person. But the trip never happened. Instead, William sent a video message of encouragement from the United Kingdom. For some fans, that decision felt like a missed opportunity to show support not only for the team, but also for the host nation. The contrast became even more noticeable when Queen Letizia of Spain travelled to Australia to watch the final in person and celebrate Spain's victory. Her presence underscored the importance that other royal families sometimes place on major international sporting events. Since then, discussions about royal travel priorities have continued to surface from time to time. Critics argue that meaningful engagement with Commonwealth nations requires consistent presence rather than occasional visits. Against that backdrop, Harry and Meghan's upcoming trip inevitably invites comparison. Even though they are no longer working royals, their ability to generate global attention remains remarkably strong. And that attention is exactly why their movements are watched so closely. Whenever the Sussexes step onto the international stage, whether at major events, charity initiatives, or global conferences, the reaction is immediate and intense. Australia, in mid-April, may once again become one of those moments. The key question now is what the couple actually plans to do during their visit. Because the trip has been described as private, official schedules have not been released. That leaves room for plenty of speculation about possible meetings, community visits, or charitable engagements that could take place behind the scenes. Harry's long-standing work with veterans organisations and the Invictus community could potentially play a role. Australia has been deeply involved with the Invictus Games movement from the beginning, and the country has produced many inspiring athletes who competed in the Games over the years. Similarly, Meghan's advocacy work around women's empowerment, media representation and community support could also align with organisations based in Australia. Even informal meetings with local leaders or non-profit groups could carry significant impact. What seems almost certain is that the visit will attract enormous public interest. Wherever Harry and Meghan go, crowds tend to follow. Their ability to draw attention to causes, communities, and conversations remains one of their most defining characteristics, and that may ultimately be the most interesting aspect of this trip. Even without official royal titles attached to their work, the Sussexes continue to operate on a global platform that few public figures can match. Their visit to Australia will likely remind the world of that influence.